So today we learned the Bank of England is increasing interest rates for the 11th consecutive time, and that'll have an immediate knock-on for both savers and borrowers. And today we're asking how it will affect your mortgage. But we go back actually to the Liz Truss Kwasi Kwarteng mini budget, because their proposal in that budget, which was only September last year, to increase borrowing to pay for £45 million of tax cuts spooked the markets, and the following day interest rates soared and the value of the pound plummeted. Mortgage rates in all of that chaos shot up from all-time historic lows of 1% and 2% to more like 6%. And the market panic led many people to think, oh my goodness, it might double again. So they then locked into inflated mortgage contracts because they feared the rates would get even higher. Then the market stabilized, mortgage rates ticked down a bit. And so although today many people will fear for the future of their mortgages, some people are looking back on September and thinking, I got trapped in Liz Truss mortgage hell. And I wonder if that's you. Are you still stuck in a mortgage contract that you're struggling to pay, either because you panicked during the Truss crisis or because, for whatever reason, in that period you had to remortgage? We'd love to hear from you. To get in touch, text us 88291, email vine@bbc.co.uk with your phone number. And also you can WhatsApp us on the long number 08000 288 291. We'll talk to a mortgage advisor and broker in just a second. But first, Gemma Forte, broadcaster, co-host of a podcast called The Trawl. You describe yourself and some of your friends as having been Liz Truss.
We have been Liz Truss, and I think the blame does lie at her door. You know, we heard in those interminable hustings leading up to her premiership, Sunak describing what would happen if she went ahead with these unthought out plans. And sure enough, we all saw the stock market crash. And here we are. And on a personal note, I've just had to, my mortgage has come to the end of its time. I had a 2-year fixed rate and mine's gone up by £800 a month. And I was sort of worried and stressed, but had my head in the sand a bit and then I heard the news and you just sit there and go, wow. So I've got to find like £9,000 a year.
Is that though blamed on Truss, or on the fact that they're trying to suppress inflation by raising interest rates, and inflation's the big problem and so on? So we're in the middle of a bit of an inflationary thing at the moment.
Well, yeah. So from my understanding, we did have incredibly low interest rates, and I think everybody expected them to go up a little bit. But when I spoke to the mortgage advisor, he told me specifically that for the last few months, he has felt more like a counsellor than a mortgage broker, because the response by the Bank of England was very, as a response, a knee-jerk response, if you like, to her actions. So they wouldn't be as high as they are and as they have been over the last couple of months. And then what you think about is this idea that she said, I will trickle down economics. Well, I'll tell you what she's trickled down: stress, anxiety and nightmares. Because interestingly, he was saying the market's very stagnant. This is reflected in all sorts of papers, City M and so on. And so I know 2 friends who are about to get on the property ladder for the first time ever, in their late 30s, one a psychiatrist in the NHS. He isn't in the NHS anymore. He's in a jungle in Colombia because he hit a wall and he just thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't work this hard, having grown up thinking that if I worked this hard, I would have a home, and I'm living with my mum. So he sort of had a bit of a breakdown on all fronts. And then the other girl is just living at home and sort of just kind of similar. I have another friend who, the impact of the money that he's got to find, they might have to move house. They've got 2 small children. And he said, Gemma, this idea about, just work a bit harder, which sometimes this particular government propagate. He's like, how much harder? Because I could go and I've got a 5-day-a-week job. If I go and work in a bar 3 nights a week, that doesn't touch the sides. And, so it's very serious.
So you've got friends who look back to the Truss government as the moment they basically lost control of their mortgage.
100%. And also, student loans, the interest on those. And I know that myself, I will, when this kicks in a month's time, and I have to find that extra money, and I still haven't worked that out yet. I see Rupert Murdoch's got his 5th wife lined up. I mean, sort of...
You would think about it.
That's how desperate. That is a joke. Do you want a 6th for 5 minutes? No, that was a joke. But the point is, I don't know yet. I don't have a plan yet of how I'm going to find that. And so I don't know. Will I borrow it from somewhere? Will I get a credit card? I don't know. And it's not about me. I'll be fine. I'll find a way. But it upsets me so much. Oh, the other point with this trickle down because people aren't moving house, well, that affects gardeners, cleaners, carpet fitters, decorators, the building trade, home supply shops. She has absolutely stuffed it.
Let's bring in Sally Mitchell, mortgage advisor, senior broker from the Mortgage Mums. Is that how you see it, Sally, that the trust was the moment we just got stuffed?
It's an interesting take, and I don't deny that there's a lot of people who feel that way, and I can totally understand why. I mean, the reaction in the market directly after that, well, I think we can call it the fudget, the mini budget, was extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it. Rates went ballistic. Swap rates that we do base a lot of fixed rate mortgage decisions on, they just rose by 150 points in one day. They were stratospheric. Now, interestingly, very quickly after that, they started to settle. Obviously, the base rate has gone up, 11 times in 18 months. That has had a huge effect on the cost of living, on what people, spend when they go to the supermarket. We've had the energy price problem, I'll call it. All sorts of stuff to deal with alongside your mortgage rates going up. But what really has made those rates go up for mortgages is not just the base rate, which we can probably say is Liz Truss. It's the powers that be, the bigger money men behind the scenes who actually decide how they're going to react to factors like the base rate, but also other economic factors as well. So it's not quite as simple as that.
So there was a moment, something happened in September, and I guess that Gemma described it, and I hadn't thought of this, that there would have been people who sought to fix the rate at the 6% or whatever, because they were worried that things were so out of control it could double again.
Yes, absolutely. And that was very real. And her quote about mortgage advisors feeling like counsellors, honestly, for about 6 weeks, I felt that's all I did, talking people, off the ledge. Unfortunately, there were a lot of people who were caught, in the sweet spot, but the absolute opposite, where they didn't have a choice. They had to sort of, leap blindly into the abyss, and all that was available were these very high rates. I mean, thousands of products were wiped from the market overnight. Lenders got spooked. They pulled out of the market. They reevaluated, relaunched and repriced, and they came back at very high levels.
And the problem is, as Gemma was saying, I guess that if that was the moment when you had to strike a deal because you were buying a house or you were remortgaging or you were just panicking, you're still now on what we might call the Liz Truss rate. Is that right?
Yes. It's a shame, because with good advice, I think a lot of people could have been saved a lot of pain. We do advise, and always have advised, that if you have a fixed rate coming up for renewal, you contact a broker and start talking about it and seeing what's available 6 months before. Now, people who were coming to us, or we had on our books, my clients who had 6 months to run, I was contacting them when this maelstrom started and saying, please don't panic. We have 6 months before we have to make a decision.
Right.
I will look at the markets. I will keep an eye on it, and I will advise you when is the time for us to move and to lock into a new rate. And for most of those people, around September, we're talking to them again in January, February, and the rates are so much better. I placed one yesterday that would have been over 6 to remortgage in October, but now it's 3.99. So,
Gemma, that's
time on your side.
What do you think?
So I'm just about to do it, okay, and mine's 4%. That is the £800 a month. So yes, it's better, but it's still awful, and it's still a massive amount of money for people to find every month, and it just is going to mean no holidays. It's going to mean no. I mean, I don't even know what mine means yet. Like I say, I'm mildly hysterical about it. So. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you got any extra sort of advice on it? Because there are ways to be creative with your mortgage to try and
go on, Sally, tell us.
That. Well, I was thinking, I don't know what you've managed to do, but when faced with a hike like that, we tend to look at extending the term of the mortgage.
So I was told I can't do that because that's maxed out, and I can't remortgage on my mortgage to pay my mortgage because I earned £1,000 not enough last year. So it's
boy, oh boy.
cool, everybody. Great.
We're thinking about Murdoch again.
Again, Rupert Murdoch suddenly looking really attractive.
Thank you. Thanks, Sally Mitchell, so much for joining us, mortgage advisor, senior broker.
Pleasure.
And great to see you, Gemma Forte, broadcaster and
Thank
co-host.
you.